Okay, I think we're ready to go, right? Okay, so I want to learn today lezechar nishmas Achi Hagodol Chaim Iser ben Rabbi Avraham Elimlech HaKohen. Did he put in a Kohen? Okay, let's start with the Shem Mishmuel. Oh, I didn't look at this for a week. I prepared this last week, and I just looked at the last piece, so I hope we'll be okay. I have to make a landing as I go. What? All right, this is the Shem Mishmuel, and I should have gone over this, but okay. At Shivat Mizbachot Arachti. So, Bilam built 7 altars, 7 Mizbachot for. Bilam built 7 Mizbachot, 7 altars to sacrifice, right, to God. But Rashi explains why 7 altars. Shiva Mizbachot, Ein Ksiv Kan. It doesn't say Shiva Mizbachot, Ein Ksiv Kan, Ela et Shivat Ha-Mizbachot, with the definite article. He built the 7 altars. So what's that reference to? Amar Lefanav, he said, Avotehem, you, the Jewish people, Shel Elu, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Banu Lefanecha Shiva Mizbachot. Between Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they built 7 altars, right? So V'ani Arachti Keneged Kulam, and I'm going to do the same thing. He wants to beat the system. Bilam is going to have Balak beat the system by cursing us. Our Avot put up 7 altars to the Ribono Shel Olam, made sacrifices. He's going to make 7 altars, right? Avraham Bona Arba. Avraham, we're not going to go through the psukim, but Avraham built 4 altars, 4 Mizbachot. Yitzchak Bona Echad, v'Yaakov Bona Shnayim. He made 2. Echad b'Shechem, v'Echad b'Beit El. 1 in Shechem and 1 in Beit El. He says, now you want to ask a question. V'yesh lavin, halo matzinu b'Yaakov, b'nosu l'Mitzrayim, b'Beer Sheva, when he was going to Yerushalayim and he stopped at Beer Sheva, vayizbach zvachim lelokei aviv Yitzchak. He offered sacrifices to his father, the God of his father, Yitzchak. V'lama lo kachashiv lei. So he left out one altar. There were really 8. So why did he leave? Why was that not mentioned here? Why doesn't Rashi mention it? He built 7. Bilam said 7 for the 7 we did, right? Venera, so he wants to make a suggestion. There's going to be a difference between a korban, a sacrifice, and the altar upon which it's sacrificed. I think, if I remember, that's what he's going to say here. Dihine, inyan mispar shiva hamizbachot, the concept of 7 mizbachot, 7 altars, Shabanu Avot, which the Avot built. Bivadai lo b'mikra hayu. This was not by happenstance. It was not by accident. Ubivadai hu adavar. That's exactly what took place. Dihine b'mei Adam Arishon, in the time of Adam, ikar shchina b'tachtonim hayta. The essence of the Ribono Shel Olam was in this world. The Shekhinah, the divine presence, was not removed. Ribono Shel Olam didn't remove himself yet from this world. Ukeshechatu dor achar dor, chet achar chet, but when we started to sin, generation after generation, sin after sin, nistalko hashchina ad harakia hashvi'i. So God removed, Kaviyachol removed his divine presence to the 7th heaven. There are 7 heavens in Shemayim, according to Chazal. Each heaven in heaven has a different purpose, which we're not going to go into. But he moved himself to the 7th heaven. Ukenegdan, and keneged the 7 heavens, parallel to the 7 heavens, amdu zayin tzadikim, me Avram Avinu alav hashalom ad Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom. So he gave us 7 tzaddikim, 7 pious great leaders, roim, shepherds, each one representing one of the 7 heavens. So he didn't leave us entirely, the Ribono Shel Olam, obviously the Shekhinah, but he gave a holy representative here to represent him to us, right? min harakia hashvi ad lemata la'aretz. So this was, one second, I skipped the line. V'horidu et hashchina la'aretz, and then he brought the Shechina back down, right, through these 7 shepherds. V'al kein banu ha'avot shiva mizbachot. So therefore, these 7 altars were built. L'dugma, as an example, lahorid, not an example, a dugma, and I guess a semblance of having lahorid and hashchina min harakia hashvi ad lamata la'aretz. So the mizbech represented, we understand that here the Shechina, the divine presence, is coming through this altar, right? This mizbech, right? Sha'af shad, one for each heaven, right? Sha'adayin lo hayazeh lechlal ha'olam. This didn't exist ad Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, until Moshe Rabbeinu. Mikol makom, really, because until the Torah came, right? But mikol makom ha'avot ba'atzmam hashchina matzuya etzlam. In other words, the total picture of the Shechina, the total presence of the Shechina only came when Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Torah down to us, right? But there was a semblance of the Shechina even by the avot, even by our fathers and mothers, right? V'haya sod Hashem alei o'alam, and the basis of the Ribono Shalom, the essence of the Ribono Shalom was in the tent. Dugmat Beit HaMikdash, like similar, in other words, it's kind of the oil, the mizbeach of each of these avot that they built was a kind of forerunner of the Beit HaMikdash that held the divine presence. The mizbeach was a holy place. Kamo shekatuv Ramban. The Ramban explains this. Okay, so the 7 altars represent the 7 heavens, not only as a representative thing, but actually held the kedusha of each of the 7 heavens, and which were also represented by the 7 shepherds that came from Avraham Avinu to Moshe, right, including the avot, right. So now he says, this is what the Shemi Shmuel is going to pick up here. Venira od lomar. I want to say something else. Because remember, he had a question. He's going to answer the question. There was an 8th that Yaakov offered korbanot on his way to Mitzrayim, right? And that's not mentioned. That altar is not mentioned. But it's strangely, the Torah doesn't refer to it as an altar. It says he offered korbanot, sacrifices. So listen to what he says here. The altar, the korban, the altar and the korban, the sacrifice, are 2 different dimensions of the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? She'inyan HaKorbanot hu mimata lemala lihitkarev Hashem Yisbarach. The korban is our making something, doing something holy, and sending it up to the Ribono Shalom. The direction of kedusha is coming from us to the Ribono Shalom. That's what the korban is. The smoke, the korban goes up to the Ribono Shalom, right? Ve'inyan hamizbeach, the mizbeach, the place of the mizbeach, hu mimala lamata. That is the kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming down to earth, right? So, l'kabel hakorbanot, to accept the korban. That's, by the way, why the Mishkan has 2 names, Mishkan and Mikdash. Mishkan is the dwelling place of Hashem, right? And Mikdash is the holy thing that goes up, right? So you have, okay, Hainu shenishlachet min hashamayim, eish shel mala. There was a fire that came from the Ribono Shalom on each mizbeach, right? Just like that, miraculously there was a fire constantly going in the Beit HaMikdash. Rovetz ka'ari, and it was like strong like a lion. Ochel korbanin, and it ate the korbanot. V'al kain, therefore, ledugma lahorid hashchina, this idea of bringing the Shechina down to this world, kanira li nasem hamizbeach. That's the mizbeach, right? Shamizbeach ba'atzmo levad hakorbanot hu dugma lezeh. The mizbeach without the korbanot, with the fire, represent the presence of the Ribono Shalom coming to this world. V'al kain ein mispar lekorbanot shehikrivu ha'avot. There's no number for the korbanot that the avot gave, those 7 right? Mizbachot, right? Kemo sheyesh mispar lemizbachot. There's a number 7, which represents the 7 heavens, which represents God coming down in his shleimus. Now remember, 7 is completeness, right? 7 is a number that represents totality in this world, like 7 days to the week, right? 7 is a number that represents the totality of this world. The Rebbe Shem comes down, right? That's the Mizbachot. Vihine, so, but not the Korban. The Korban is what we do for the Rebbe Shalom. So now, Bilam thought he was beating the system, right? Bilam sheratzah lihidamot lavot. He wanted to be like the Avot. I'm going to build 7 altars like the Avot built. Lahorid gamkein hashchina laaretz, to bring the Shechina down to the earth. Liot ne'avad mishivim umot, right? So all the 70 nations are going to kind of take over, right? Bona gamkein ledugma shiva mizbachot. So he built 7 altars, right? He's going to beat the system. Valkein lo kachashiv Yaakov beBeersheva. So he didn't think to bring in Yaakov in Beersheva, right? Who offered korbanot, right? Shesham lo nemar mizbeach klal. Doesn't say mizbeach, right? Vahatam, and the reason is yesh lomar she'az yordu legalot hepech hitgalut ha'elokut ba'aretz. The korban, what Yaakov did on his way to Mitzrayim, was to bring into the world the opposite power, the opposite holiness, not the holiness of God coming down to this world. V'hashchina yorda imo leMitzrayim, right? He did litgalot ha'elokut ba'aretz v'hashchina yorda imo leMitzrayim v'haya ha'inyan ha'eloki b'hitalmut. It was I guess hidden, right? Al kain lo bana mizbeach. He didn't build a mizbeach. He didn't want to build a mizbeach. It was really a demonstration of the greatness of the Jewish people, right? Bilam couldn't match that. He couldn't match that. He had no relationship with that. He missed it. He missed that whole thing. That was a whole different purpose. It was that we are going to survive Mitzrayim, the power of Kedusha from the Korban coming from the earth to heaven. We're going to have that power, Yisrael. We're going to survive Galus Mitzrayim. We're going to survive all of the dispersions, and it's the power of Klal Yisrael. Bilam couldn't really beat us, right? That's what he says. That answers the question why the 8th one was missed by Bilam. He didn't understand it, and he didn't do it, and really that was the home run for us, what Yaakov did. Okay. Next piece from Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Interesting idea. Im yiten li Balak malei beito kesef v'zahav lo uchal la'avor et pi Hashem. Now he wanted, Bilam was back and forth with the Rebbe Shalom, with Balak, right? At times he's going to destroy us, he's going to curse us, but at other times he says, I can't. How can I curse who God blessed, right? I can't do it, right? He says, he tells Balak, if you give me all, malei beito, kesef v'zahav, lo uchal la'avor et pi Hashem. If you fill up my whole house, your whole house, everything you have in your house, you give me all the money you have, I can't do it, right? Im digdek, if you look at this statement of Bilam very carefully, there's a difference here between another statement in Chazal. There's a Mishnah. This is Pirkei Avos season. So there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Maimer shel Bilam leMaimer shel Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma b'Masechet Avot. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot that Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma was traveling and he met somebody and he told him, come live in our city, right? So, live in my city. So he said, do you have a yeshiva there? No. Do you have a minyan there? No. Do you have it, right? He says, listen, amarti lo bini, imata noten li kol kesef v'zahav v'avanim tovot u'margaliot. If you give me all the gold and the silver and the diamonds and the jewels in the world, eini dar ela b'makom Torah. I will not live ela in a makom Torah. I will only live in a place of Torah. So there's a difference. Bilam didn't say that. If you give me everything in all the gold, even if you gave me the gold and silver in your house, I wouldn't come. Hainu mishum shebilam natan mida ugvul lachlato. He set up a limit for himself, right? Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma didn't set up a limit, right? a limit. Ki ulai im yitain lo Balak shnei batim aleim kesef v'zav. Maybe he gives me 2 houses full of gold and silver. Maybe I will come, right? It was good. They were bargaining with Balak. He was bargaining with him, right? But Yosef and Kisma said, no, you give me all the gold and the silver and the diamonds and the jewels in the world, I will not leave a makam Torah. Oh, he says, Olai yoter mizeh, maybe more, he said. Give me more. Az yishtalem lo la'avor et pi Hashem, then I'm prepared to go against the Ribono Shel Olam, right? Aval Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma, hidgish afilu im titen lo et kol ha'osher sheba'olam, you give me all the money in the world. Aval pikein eini dar ele bimkom Torah, right? Wonderful lesson for us, and you see the stark difference between Bilam and us. Okay, now over the page, I have 2 pieces here. I think a few weeks ago we did from Rav Yonasan David. I've done it before, who was the son-in-law of Rav Hutner, and this is a sefer that came out very recently, written up his shiurim from his talmidim, from his students. Rav Yonasan David is the Rosh Hashiva of Yeshiva Pachad Yitzchak here in Yerushalayim. When Rav Hutner was 70 years old, most people at 70 years old, slow down a little bit. He came to Eretz Yisrael and he built Yeshiva Pachad Yitzchak here in Yerushalayim. And Rav Yonasan, his only daughter, is married to Rav Yonasan David. I think I mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago, his daughter, Rav Hutner's daughter, Rebbetzin Bruria David, was the dean of BJJ, Beis Yaakov of Yerushalayim. It's kind of the Harvard of seminaries for girls, and she was an absolutely brilliant person, a very special person. And her husband he should have a refuah shlema. He's no youngster anymore, and he's tremendous Talmud Chacham. They have no children. She was Rav Hutner's only daughter and only child, and they have no children. But he has a lot of Talmidim. Okay, so he has 2 very interesting ideas here that I want to share with you, okay? So, Kviyat ma'alatan shel Yisrael lifnei knisatan la'aretz. How come, just before we came into Eretz Yisrael, there's a whole review in right now in Bamidbar of the greatness of the Jewish people, right? So that's what he's going to talk about. Parshat Balak nemra l'sof sheutan shel Yisrael b'midbar 40 shana. Balak is at the end of the 40 years that we were in the desert. The kol sefer dvorim eino el mishnah Torah. Sefer dvorim is a repetition, basically. So dvorim is kind of a review. It's the end of the journey in the desert. So there's going to be a major difference here. This is a watershed moment, sort of, between Bamidbar is all the miracles and the Jewish history in the desert, and coming into Eretz Yisrael, where life is without revealed miracles, right? So, but he's going to say, Chazra ala Torah shenemra meshech 40 shana halalu. There's a whole review. That's the whole review in Chazara, in Mishnah Torah, in Sefer Dvorim. But now he said, V'chein v'Parshat Pinchas. In Parshat Pinchas, hu hachana leknisat la'aretz, is a preparation for coming into Eretz Yisrael. Al yidei Parshat Nachalot, the inheritance, the division of the land. I mean, Nuyav shel Yoshua, how Yoshua is going to divide up the land. Uparshat HaKorbanot, and all about the Korbanot, the sacrifices. V'chein Matot, Masai, Matos Masai, hu Klaliyut shel hamasaot b'midbar. It's a review of the whole 40 years journey in the desert and all of the places that we traveled to. Uparshazu Balak, he shenemer b'sof. Right? We have that here. V'nira hatam. Why is that? Why do we have this? And the greatness of Klal Yisrael through the story of Balak, he wants to say, also points out, the greatness of the Jewish people, and it's going to fare well with us. It's kind of a premonition and a preamble to going into Eretz Yisrael, right? V'nira hatam sheratza Kodesh Baruch Hu likvoa. God wanted to establish ulegalot, and to reveal at ma'alatan shel Yisrael, the greatness of the Jewish people, kodem knisatan la'aretz. Before we came into Eretz Yisrael, it was kind of like an introduction before the speech. You introduce the speaker and you tell about who he is and what he is and his accomplishments. So the Ribono Shel Olam wanted to to make a statement about the accomplishments of Klal Yisrael, who they are, who they were, who they are, and who they're going to be before we came into Israel. And also what has to be repaired by the Jewish people before. Ulam. If you want to look at the total picture, you have to be outside, right? When you're inside, you don't see the whole picture. You're subjected, right? A person, a great artist, draws something, and in every painting, every little thing has some great meaning to it, right? But if you want to get the total picture, you go into an art gallery, you look close and see, but you have to stand back to get the total picture of this work of art. Not just the pratim, but the whole scope. Hanim shall move on. Makes sense. We understand this, right? Hine Moshe Rabbeinu hu hamanhig. Moshe Rabbeinu was the manhig. He was the leader. Ha'omed bifnim. He was inside the kishkas of Klal Yisrael. Umifakeach al kol tzorchei Yisrael. He took care of all of the specifics, the pratim of Klal Yisrael, Am Yisrael, of every single Jew, the needs, the details, right? Ubilam, who made bachutz. Bilam stood outside. He wasn't inside Klal Yisrael. He was a visiting prophet of the Umot Olam, right? But he could see the greatness of Klal Yisrael from a distance. He had that ability to have that objective. Of course, it was a very negative objective view, but he had that objective view of the picture of Klal Yisrael from a distance, whereas Moshe was inside, right? And that's the bracha that eventually he gave us of the total picture. Right, that's what is Matovo Alecha Yaakov Mishkanotecha Yisrael is the total sweep of Klal Yisrael, right? And he says now, V'hainu time, and that's the reason, the Parsha Zu, which we call it Balak, because that was the first word, one of the first words in the Parsha, right? Beloshen Chazal Parshat Bilam, but the rabbis refer to as Parshat Bilam. It's called to the Parshat Bilam, right? Listen. Kedisa b'Bava Basra Yudalit. Anyone who's learning Daf Yomi, we had this Gemara about 10 days ago. Right? Well, no, a little more, about a month ago. Moshe Katav Sifro uParshat Bilam. Moshe wrote his sefer, and he wrote Parshas Bilam. What's going on here? Mashalo Nemar Esel Birchad Yaakov. You have the blessings that Yaakov gave to Klal Yisrael. We're also from Yaakov, not from Moshe. Shirat Hayam. The song of the sea was Az Yashir Moshe Uvenei Yisrael. It wasn't just Moshe, right? But it doesn't say, right? Moshe wrote his sefer and Bilam and right? What's going on here? Why does he have to make that point? He wrote everything. Afal gav de gam elu hadvarim nemar al yedei mishu acher. These things were said by other people. V'lo al yedei Moshe Rabbeinu, and not Moshe Rabbeinu bilvad, right? So what's he saying? Mikol makom kol haTorah kula, the whole Torah nikreit Torat Moshe. The whole Torah is called Moshe's Torah. That's how we call it. Im kein ma'ishna Parshas Bilam shenichalek shem la'atzma. How come the rabbis put Bilam separately? He wrote the whole Torah and Parshas Bilam, but Parshas Bilam is really part of the Torah. So, what are the rabbis? What does Chazal mean by that statement? Okay. So this is what he's going to basically, he's built up to that, so we can sort of feel what he wants to say. El shekol haparshiyot, all of the Torah, afal pishet nemru al yidei neviim acherim, even though they were written by other prophets, mikol makom nichlalu b'Torahs Moshe. It's all Torahs Moshe. Kilomar shenichtavu b'Torah derech atzmiuto shel Moshe. It came from Moshe, through Moshe. Kodesh Baruch Hu medaber b'toch grono shel Moshe. He spoke through Moshe, right? Masha ein kein parsha zu. This parsha was the exception that proved the rule. Shelo haya lo shayachut la'atzmiuto shel Moshe. This parsha did not have anything to do with the essence of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the objective outside. The outside view of Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was not outside, right? Shahutzrachu habrachot ha'elu. These blessings were required. Lavo dafka mi bechutz al yedei Bilam. That was Bilam's utility. That was the utility of his level of prophecy, to give us a bracha from the outside, the grand sweep of Klal Yisrael. And the world is going to have to accept this, right? In order to establish the greatness of Klal Yisrael in completeness. That's why it says Moshe wrote his Sefer, and he also wrote Sefer Bilam. That's the essence of what that Gemara is telling us. Sha'af shevadai bichlal haTorah. Of course, it's part of the Torah. Mikol makom chaluk mishar haTorah be'inyan zeh. It stands apart from the rest of the Torah because it is the objective bracha from the outside viewer, looking at the picture in the art gallery, lahavdil, from take a distance. And he few psukim that he throws in to show you that everything is here, past, present, and future, in all of the brachas that he was forced to make, right? Umahi be'etzem malatan shel Yisrael. So what is the greatness of Klal Yisrael? He mashe shavchan bilam al ha'avar. The praise he gave in it, part of his bracha, he was forced to give a bracha on the past of Klal Yisrael. You'll see in the Parsha, Ki Berosh Tzurim Erenu Umigvavot Ashurenu. Those two, Rashi tells us, it's a Gemara, that Tzurim represents the Avot, our forefathers, and the Migvaot represents, those hills represent the Imaot, our mothers, right? The Avot and the Imaot. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, so Rivka, Rachel, Leah. That's what that's our past, the greatness of our past. That was part of his bracha. Then Shemiyu Sadim V'chazakim Mitzurim ugvaot al yidei avot v'imot, because our strength comes from the avot and the imot. That's part of our blessing, our past. V'gam bahova, and his brachas also included the present. Mi mana afar Yaakov. You can't reckon us. You can't count us, right? Mi mana afar Yaakov. We are unlimited. You can, right? V'gam ba'atid, in the future, ubagoyim lo yit chashev, right? We're not reckoned together with the nations of the world. We are in a league, lo yit chashev bagoyim. We stand in a league by ourselves, right? Klal Yisrael. V'od ke'et yomar liYaakov ma po kel, right? Look at what God created. Look at what God created. V'gam yuzal mayim midalyo v'yarom agag malko v'tinasei malchuto. Right, the first king Shaul conquered. He conquered the other kings. He conquered Agag and Amalek. That's what he's talking about, right? And he was appointed king, and all the kings came after. V'ayim targum sham. The targum on this. Davar omed lit paresh yoter lefanenu. There's much more, but the Targum says on this pasuk that, that Yaakov, it will be told of Yaakov. I think Rashi brings part of the Targum. What did Hashem do? There'll be a future time when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we go through all of the turbulation of Jewish history, but He will embrace us, and we will have Torah, and we will be a people with Mashiach, etc. So the past, present, and future was all inclusive, the total picture in Bilam's bracha. So that's why it's a separate. It was really Bilam, right? But part of Moshe's Torah. But it had to be separate because it was that outside view that Bilam gave, which was incorporated into Torah's Moshe. Okay, the next piece on I think you have it on the third page. Also from Rav Yonason, Tochen hanei shel ptichat pi ha'aton. What's the essence of the miracle of the talking donkey, right? Now, V'yiftach Hashem et pi ha'aton. He opened up the mouth of the donkey, V'tomer leBilam, and he spoke to Bilam, right? 3 times, right? He kept knocking on the third page, right? You got on the other, I think it's in the back, right? You got it? Okay. So 3 times, the donkey took him off course, right into a wall, and this, and finally, Vadavar started, and then he starts saying, "What did you do to me?" Right? I've taken care of you all the time. Well, how do you deal with me this way, right? Bir ma'aya betachlito shel nezeh shel ptichat pi ha'aton. What is the essence of this miracle, right? So he says like this: Yesh kama madregot bivruyim. there are 4 levels. There are different levels of the creation of the world, the created world. Domem, Tzomeach, Chai, Umedaber. You have Domem, right? Mineral, animal. Domem, Tzomeach, vegetable. Chai, animal life, right? What is it? Umedaber. And Medaber is human beings. Because this is classically we refer to human being as a medaber because that's what distinguishes the human being from the other 3 areas of creation, the power of speech, right? The neshama, the coming together of v'yipach ba'apav nishmat chayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu blew into his nostrils, our nostrils through Adam, and then the Ruach Memalale, the Targum says, the power of speech is the physicality and the spirituality, the neshama and the guf coming together is the power of speech. Only human beings have that power of speech, okay? Not animal, mineral, and, right? No, just, and vegetable, right? So now, but what's going on here? We got a talking donkey, right? V'chol echad ma'uleh yoter mihakodem. Each one is higher than the other, right? Each of these are higher than the other, right? V'havadai sh'al yedei shedibur ha'aton lo nitala lemadreget medaber. You can't say that the donkey, I mean, I don't know if I'm aging myself. You remember Mr. Ed? Remember there was a television program in America called Mr. Ed, but a talking horse, right? Anyway, right? So this is very important Torah. So he says, obviously, the donkey was not a human being. So how do we understand it? Kimo shaha tuki, a parrot, right? A parrot talks. Gamken medaber, right? But you can't. Umikol makom muvan lakol. Everybody knows. Shaval pikein nishar b'madreget chai. The parrot's an animal, right? Whatever you want to say, the parrot is not a human being, right? Ve'ein lo malat hamedaber. He doesn't have the level and the advantage of a speaker, of a human being, right? Kimo kein haton hazeh. Here also, this donkey is not. Af shelechura hevin ma shamar. What was it? Understood what he said, even though he understood what he was saying. Aval pikein nishar al madregato kechamor pashut. Even though he understood what he was saying and he had to talk, he was a chamor. He was a donkey, period. He was a donkey who happened to be able to speak, right? Ubirin zed neira. Let's maybe try to explain it to you. Dihine ha'adam nivra b'shnei dvarim. A person is created with 2 things. Gashami v'ruchani. Geshem, his spiritual, his material, physical, and ruchani, his spirituality, neshama and guf. V'yitzah Hashem Elokim et Adam afar min adama. So he quotes these psukim. Hashem created man afar min adama. He took dust from the earth. That's our physicality. Hainu chelek hagashami shebo. That's our physicality. V'yipach ba'apav, he says it. V'yipach ba'apav nishmat chayim, and he blew into our nostrils, right? Nishmas chayim, our neshama. V'hainu chelek haruchani. That is the power of speech. That is we didn't get there yet. That is the neshama. Ubiyachad, together, vayehi adam lenefesh chaya. The pasuk says, we became a nefesh chaya, a living, right, nefesh. V'hi malad ha'adam, this is the superiority of man, shemekasher ruchani v'gashami. That he brought together the physicality and the spirituality of man. I've often pointed out, and stop me if you remember this, but I'll just share it with you, that in the morning brachas that we say Asher Yotzar, which is a bracha thanking God for human plumbing, the miracle of human plumbing, and then we say Elokai Neshama, thanking God for the soul that He gave us. Right now, in Ashkenaz Sidurim, they're not together. You have Birchas HaTorah, the blessings of Torah, in the middle. In Nusach Sfard, it's correct. You have Asher Yotzar followed immediately by Elokai Neshama. Why do I say that's correct? because the Ramah in the Tshuvas, and actually he brings it in Halacha, the Ramah in the Tshuvas in Halacha says you should say it one after the other. And let me tell you why what he says. Because at the end of Asher Yotzar, what do you say? Baruch atah Hashem, Rofei kol basar, you are the doctor of all flesh, umafli la'asod, and you created us miraculously. Right? So, and the next bracha is Elokai neshama, you gave me the soul. So everybody makes the mistake of thinking that Rofei kol basar is the doctor of all flesh, umafli la'asod, miraculously created the human plumbing. It's a mistake. Rav Hutner has a whole mimer on this. I did this many years ago. I went through this from Rav Hutner. No, that's not the pshat in the bracha. Rofei kol basar is on Asher Yotzar, right? Umafli la'asod is the bridge that immediately from Asher Yotzar, from our physical miracle, is the spiritual, the neshama, that the miracle of creation is that he blends together. This is the joining together of body and soul. So Umafli la'asod is the bridge between Asher Yotzar and Elokai neshama. So it has to be said immediately after Asher Yotzar, because Umafli la'asod is a continuum from Asher Yotzar to Elokai neshama. That's the miracle of creation, that we're together. The physical and the spiritual are created together, right? Okay. Now let's continue. V'heichan ma'ila azot mafiyat. And where do you see this? Where is this miraculous coming together of physicality and spirituality? Where is this synthesis? L'nefesh chaya. Nefesh chaya. What is that translated? Tirgum Uncles translates l'ruach memala, the ability to speak. Shemiyuchad la'adam koach hadibur. Only man has the power of speech. Inyan hadibur hu habitui shel hachibur haneshama v'aguf. Speech is the exclusive synthesis power of the coming together of guf and neshama. Chibur zeh eno mushlam, and it doesn't exist. Ela k'shemivta et atzmiuto al yedei diburo. It comes out about through speech. Once you speak, so you know that's the neshama joining together with the guf. That's why the halacha, when a child starts to speak, you try to teach him Torah, Tziva Lanu Moshe, Morasha, Kehilat Yaakov. You try to teach him very holy things to say, right? V'im lo yavina adam, masha motzi b'piv. A person doesn't understand what he's saying. A person speaks, and doesn't understand what he's saying. Chaser b'diburim elu ma'alos ha'medaber. He's not really a medaber. A person is babbling away, right? He's not thinking about what he's saying. That's not defined as dibur, according to the Torah, right? If he's not thinking about what he's saying, it's just, she'ein haneshama niksheret lagamri maguf, because that means the soul and the guf are not attached, right? So certainly by Adam, most of the time we speak, it's that attachment is there, right? But shal yidei hadibur, but if by an animal, hadibur atzmiuto miftat, right? But by us, the dibur comes out from both of them together. Umemela hatuki hazeh, the parrot, it's called a tuki, right? Afal pi shemidaber ezedvarim, even though dibur can say, Paulie wants a cracker, whatever the parrot says. Mikol makom. Kivan she'ein lo neshama mimal, it doesn't have a neshama, right? Ein lo bichlal chashivut shel medaber, right? He doesn't have, you can't call it dibur. It's not speech. Hachanami beptichat piaton. So by the donkey, shevadai lo nit'alta b'madregata. It didn't become some holy, heavenly animal, kind of. Donkey mermaid kind of a thing, right? Ve'ein ze nikra dibur. That's not dibur. It's not speech. Kivan she'ein lo neshama lihitchaber im haguf. There's no neshama to attach to the body. Ulevate et atzmiut haneshama. Right? To synthesize this. Rak shehaya neis ba'alma. It was a miracle. It was a plain and Parshat, a miracle from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shepatach piha, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened up the mouth of the donkey to speak. V'hadiburim avru derech piha, and the words came out of his mouth. But this was a miracle that was set in motion by the Ribbono Shel Olam. It is not part of the process of creation. Avalo navu hadiburim me'atzmiut haton, did not come from the essence of the donkey, right? Okay, so now he wants to say, V'hi tachlis neis hazeh. This is the purpose of this miracle. Shel ptichat piason, opening the donkey to speak. Lahodia leBilam, I wanted Bilam to understand. She'enu mota olam shavin liYisrael klal v'klal. The world, the nations of the world. Now, I left out a lot here because it might not be politically correct to go through what he talks about. The nations of the world, their neshama is not the same neshama as the neshama that Klal Yisrael received. That happens to be the truth. It's the fact, right? But I don't want to go into it. He comes in very strong. The nations of the world, whatever they say, like the things that people are saying today, the sheker that's coming out of the whole world today against Klal Yisrael, that's not speech, right? That's not speech. That's a donkey talking. That's a donkey talking, right? Because the neshama, they don't have the level neshama that Klal Yisrael have. They have a neshama. There's a lower level neshama, but then it's not the ultimate fusion and synthesis of ruchnius and gashmius, of spirit. Listen to what they're saying, how they speak against us, right? So that I left all that out, but you got the picture. This is what he's going to say. I couldn't get it. I couldn't leave it out with you. You guys are safe, right? Okay, but unfortunately, it's going to be. We'll figure what to do. Lahodia leBilam she'enu mota olam shavin liYisrael klal v'klal. The nations of the world don't have a right. V'koach hadibur shelo, your power of speech, leumat kochan shel Yisrael, compared to Bnei Yisrael, hu mamash kemo dibur aton el bilam. You're like the talking donkey. Your power of speech will have the power unless I make it something. Unless I make you say something. If I make you say something like the donkey, then what you say is going to be good, right?
I learned it as an ass.
Pardon?
Where I come from, we only talked about Bilam's ass.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to use that word. But you go, but Hamavin Yavin. Thank you very much. Hamavin Yavin. Sha'afal Pikain. Ki ein lo malas. This shir is censored, so Sha'afal Pikain ein lo malas amedaber. He's not called a medaber. Not the donkey, and not you, right? Shemekasher ruchani v'gashmi kanal. You don't have that. You don't have it. V'lo yuchal lishtamesh bekoach hadibur shelo kenegdam. You cannot defeat us with your speech. Just like the donkey, he has speech, but I put those words in. So ubemet kain hayala b'sof. And that's really what happened in the end, truth be told. L'besof shekabira otam Bilam, when Bilam blessed the Jewish people, mikol makom lo yatsu hadvarim miratzon Bilam atzmo. The words did not come out of Bilam's mouth on his own. They were not the words of Bilam, right? Rak shesham sam Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu hadibur bepiv. God put the words in his mouth. Right? Kedichtiv vayasem davar bepiv. He put the words in his mouth. Vayomer shuv el Balak v'kach tedaber. And this is what I'm going to put in your mouth. This is what you're going to say to Balak. Rashi says, Shenatan lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu rasan v'chika or chaka bepiv. Right? He put in a bridle and a bit into his mouth, like a fish hook. He forced him to come out with these words. Ka'adam hapokes behema, like when you catch an animal, right? B'chaka lahalicho, you put a bridle in his mouth to get him to go to walk, and he can't talk, right? Al asher yirtzeh, I take him where I want to take him. So the Ribbono Shel Olam spoke. These were the Ribbono Shel Olam's words. The objective picture, the total bracha of Klal Yisrael, past, present, and future, didn't come from Bilam. It came through Bilam, the donkey Bilam, right? That's what but it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amalo al korach tashuv el Balak. Now go back to Balak. Okay, Vayin Maral, just ends with this from the Maral. Al Mashakos of Rashi, Mashal Amrim, he said, the Litzara lo, to the bee. You say to the bee, Bilam was like the bee. Lo meyuktzech velo miduv sheikh. We say in English, I'm not interested in your honey and your sting. Not your sting, not the sting and not the honey, right? Not the sting and not the honey. This comes from Chazal. Not the sting and not the honey. I don't want your bracha. Your bracha is meaningless and your curse is going to be meaningless, right? The bracha is mine and your curse will not take place. That's the essence. I'll bless and I'll curse, the Rebbe says. That's the essence of the donkey. What? Beautiful, no? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. You gave me the opportunity of learning Torah again after a week of Shiva. Thank you.